Have you ever handed your child a few dollars for chores and wondered, am I giving too much? Or maybe too little? What if I told you that the way you set their allowance could actually shape how they handle money for the rest of their life? Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how much allowance kids should get and why it's one of the most powerful lessons you can teach them. And trust me, the answer isn't what most parents think. Number one, why allowance even matters. Here's a secret. Allowance isn't just about money. It's about teaching kids how to manage it. When kids earn, save, and spend their own money, they learn lessons no school ever teaches. They understand value. They learn patience. And they start to make mistakes early, when the stakes are low, instead of later, when those mistakes could cost thousands. For example, one mom gave her 10-year-old son an allowance of $10 a week. At first, he blew it all on candy every Saturday, but after a month of having no money left by Wednesday, he started saving half each week for a video game. That's real-world financial education. So before we talk about numbers, keep this in mind. The goal isn't just to pay your kids. The goal is to guide them through hands-on practice with money. Number two, how much do other parents give? Here's what the research says. According to a study by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, the average allowance in the USA is around $30 a week for kids between 7 and 14. Sounds like a lot? That's because many of those kids are expected to handle more than just fun spending. They pay for their own outings, clothes, or even school snacks. Another approach. Parents' use is $1 per year of age per week. So a 7-year-old would get $7 a week. A 12-year-old? Around $12. It keeps things simple and helps kids understand that as they grow and take on more responsibilities, their allowance grows too. For example, one family with 2 kids, 8 and 11, gave them $8 and $11 a week. When the older child started middle school and needed money for lunch with friends, they bumped it up slightly to cover that. So, what's the takeaway? There's no one-size-fits-all, but these averages can give you a starting point to decide what fits your family. Number three, should allowance be tied to chores? Here's the big debate. Should kids earn their allowance by doing chores? Some parents say yes. It teaches kids that money comes from hard work. If you don't work, you don't get paid. That's a valuable lesson. For example, one dad paid his kids $5 every time they mowed the lawn, $2 to do the dishes, and $1 to fold laundry. The kids loved seeing their earnings add up, but other parents argue no, kids should help around the house simply because they're part of the family. You don't get paid for brushing your teeth, and you don't get paid for cleaning your own room. Many families compromise. They give a base allowance each week for being part of the household, and then offer bonuses for extra jobs. For example, one mom gave her kids $10 a week automatically, but let them earn up to 10 more for bigger jobs like washing the car or weeding the garden. It really depends on what you want your kids to learn. Number four, when should you start? The earlier kids learn about money, the better. Most experts recommend starting around age 6 or 7, when kids can count, understand numbers, and start making simple spending decisions. For example, one family started their daughter at 6 years old with $5 a week. She saved up for a toy in just 3 weeks, which made her feel proud and motivated to save again. You can adjust the amount and expectations as they grow, but those early years are golden for teaching lifelong habits. Number five, how should they use their allowance? This is where the magic happens, teaching kids to budget their allowance. A simple system that works wonders is the 3-jar method. Spend, save, and give. For example, an 8-year-old who gets $8 a week might put $4 in spend, $2 in save, and $2 in give. The spend jar is for things they want now, like toys or candy. The save jar is for bigger goals, like a video game or bike. And the give jar teaches generosity by letting them donate to a cause they care about. This system builds habits they'll carry into adulthood, saving for emergencies, spending wisely, and giving back. Number six, common mistakes to avoid. Here's where many parents slip up. First, don't bail them out when they spend all their money too fast. If your child blows all their allowance on the first day and wants more by Friday, don't cave. Let them feel what it's like to have nothing left. That lesson sticks. Second, don't make it too high. If you give them more than they could reasonably earn in the real world, they won't learn the value of a dollar. One dad told his son, If you want to buy that expensive skateboard, save for it. It took the boy 2 months, but he appreciated it much more than if dad had just bought it. Finally, avoid giving allowance inconsistently. If you forget some weeks or change the amount randomly, it confuses kids and they don't develop a clear habit. Number 7. What if you can't afford much? Good news, it's not about the amount. Even just $1 or $2 a week is enough to teach kids how to manage money. One single mom told her daughter, "I can only give you $2 a week, but you can still save, spend, and give." Her daughter proudly donated 25 cents to a local animal shelter one month. It's the habit, not the number, that counts. Number 8. Adjusting as they grow. Allowance isn't set in stone. As kids get older, you can adjust the amount and what they're responsible for. For example, a 14-year-old might get a bigger allowance but also pay for their own clothes and school lunches. This teaches them to budget for real-world expenses. One family doubled their son's allowance when he turned 15, but gave him a list of things he now had to buy himself, like movie tickets, snacks, and even part of his cell phone bill. He learned fast how to prioritize his spending. Number 9. Creative ways to make it fun. Allowance doesn't have to feel like homework. Some families use apps to track chores and pay allowance digitally. Kids love seeing their balance grow on a screen. Others hold a little payday ceremony every Friday, where they hand out allowance and talk about what everyone plans to do with their money. One dad even printed family dollars with funny pictures of their dog on them. Kids could trade them in for real money or special treats. The more fun and engaging you make it, the more your kids will care. Number 10. When to stop giving allowance. At some point, kids grow into teenagers and then young adults who need to start earning their own money. A good rule of thumb is to start tapering off allowance when they get their first part-time job, usually around 16 or 17. For example, one mom told her son, "Once you get your paycheck from your weekend job, your allowance will stop." This motivates teens to take responsibility and understand what it feels like to truly earn their money. Gradually reducing allowance instead of cutting it off suddenly can make the transition smoother. Number 11. Teaching the value of time. Allowance can also teach kids how much their time and effort are worth. For example, you could explain that it takes an hour of mowing the lawn to earn $5. This helps kids connect the money they earn to the time and work it represents, making them more thoughtful about how they spend it. One dad even timed his daughter washing the car and joked, "Wow, that's a fast $3, which made her proud of her effort. Number 12. Setting goals together. Allowance is a perfect opportunity to teach kids about setting financial goals. You can sit down together and talk about what they want to save for, maybe a new bike, a pair of sneakers, or even a small donation to a charity. Write it down, set a timeline, and cheer them on as they make progress. For example, a 9-year-old girl proudly hung a picture of a dollhouse on her bedroom wall and tracked her savings each week until she reached her goal. That sense of accomplishment is unforgettable. Number 13. Why consistency builds trust. Kids notice when parents keep their word and when they don't. If you promise an allowance on Fridays, make sure you deliver, just like a real employer would. One mom said, "If I skip paying them one week, they lose interest and stop caring about chores or saving." Being reliable teaches kids not just about money, but about trust and respect. Number 14. Helping them handle mistakes. Your child will probably make bad spending decisions, and that's a good thing. When your son spends his whole allowance on a toy that breaks the next day, resist the urge to rescue him. These small mistakes now are better than big mistakes later in life. One dad said his son blew $20 on cheap headphones that broke in a week, and he's never made that same mistake since. Letting kids experience the sting of regret is part of the lesson. Allowance is so much more than pocket money. It's a life lesson in disguise. It teaches kids to work, save, plan, and make choices that matter. Start simple, stay consistent, and remember, it's not about the amount you give, but the lessons they take away. So here's what I want to know. If you got an allowance as a kid, what was the first thing you ever saved up for? Share your story in the comments.